Sankhya Yoga is analyzing the difference between the soul and the body. Now, the last section we concluded about the characteristics of the soul. We'll quickly review what we discussed about on this subject. So last week's summary was Arjuna's indecision in accepting Lord Krishna as his spiritual master. So first, Lord Krishna is chastising Arjuna and disapproving of his so-called compassion. Why it is so-called compassion? Because it is not really beneficial. The way he is thinking is not really going to benefit him or others. But Arjuna continues to give further doubts and submits his confusion. So at this point, Krishna begins to speak to him. So don't lament unnecessarily. All individuals exist eternally, and changing bodies is natural. So the soul is always existing, is existing now and exists in the future. And it's a natural force for the body to always change. Because our desires are changing, and according to our desires, we have to do different actions. And for those actions, we need different bodies. So it's a natural force. So therefore, one should tolerate the dualities which come with the change of bodies. When you go for change, obviously there will be some disturbances. From steady state, if you want to go to another steady state, we have to introduce change. And actually, when there is change, there will be some disturbance. So you have to control them. So Krishna says, tolerate that. Equanimity is eligibility for liberation. When you learn to tolerate, supposing an aircraft is flying, obviously there's going to be different forces acting on it. But if you learn to manipulate those forces, you can move forward. And the soul never dies and the body is perishable. So this nature, this cannot be changed. Changing bodies is similar to changing clothes. Just as we wear a cloth, and after wearing the cloth, it wears and tears happening. So naturally, we have to change it. So nobody cries over that. So similarly, the soul changes bodies, and then Krishna elaborates on the qualities of the soul. Birth and death are inevitable. The birth and death are relevant to the body. Any object, it goes through 6 changes, and that are replicable only to the body and not to the soul. Therefore, no need to lament for the eternal soul, which is not affected by any of the weapons, different types of weapons. How to make it full screen? Anyone can help me. Yeah, it's fine now. So the remaining chapter, first Krishna talks about Sakama Karma, which means action which is motivated by some result. Just like we have professional courses, because we know that after completing that course, you can get a job. So similarly, Krishna is trying to motivate Arjuna that if he acts like Kshatriya, then he is, whatever result comes, it is going to benefit him. So perform prescribed duties gives enjoyment. Prescribed duty means there may be many actions which we can do, but someone prescribes it for a specific purpose. Just like you go to a doctor, he gives a prescription, which means if you follow that medicine, then you get cured. Similarly, there is a duty which is prescribed specifically for you. Why it is prescribed for you? Because everyone enjoys in a different way, and by following the prescribed duty, at least the result is assured. So doing prescribed duty of fighting opens door for him. As far as Arjuna is concerned, he was a Kshatriya, and for him, either he wins the battle and enjoys, or if he dies also, it is assured that he will go to heaven, because this is a religious war. But if you avoid this performing your duty, it's said you will incur sin. So what is sin? Sin means something which is against your nature. For example, tiger is there. It can kill and eat. It is no sin incurred in that. But if I kill someone and eat, then it's a sin because it is not my nature. And infamy and criticism. If you avoid your duties, people will speak badly about you, and to get back your reputation is not going to be easy. And even if you don't do any mistakes, because you have done a mistake once, people will be ready to spot out some mistakes in you. So this section, Krishna tells what is the benefit of his fighting the war. The next section, verses 38 to 53, talk about Nishkama Karma Yoga. Yoga means when you are connected with the purpose. Just like you could have done this, whatever you are doing, somewhere at your home also, but you got affiliated to an organization and then it has some value. So yoga means you are connecting with the doing whatever you are doing for a higher purpose. That is karma means by action. And how do you perform the action? Nishkama. That is detached work. It's also known as Buddhi Yoga, which means you are using your intelligence. Sometimes people do mechanically, but some people use their intelligence as to why they are doing, how they can improve, or what should be the motive. So, what is detached work without reaction means? Uh, One is you should understand that in any action I do, I'm not the only doer. Just like I am able to do here because so many people help me, some facility is there. So there is a background arrangement. Within that arrangement only I can work. I cannot claim that I am the only doer and therefore I am the only completely entitled to the result. Supposing you are working for an organization, you cannot say the whole organization is running because of me. There are many people working. Obviously, I have to share the benefits with everyone. So that is detached work means you know that I'm not the only doer, and therefore I cannot claim an entire right to enjoy the result. And even if the result is not as I expected, I should continue to do my work because sometimes you pour water. Some plants grow very fast. Some plants take very long time. For example, bamboo or wood, teak wood. It takes a long time, but some plants come very fast. So it doesn't mean this is successful and that is a failure. Sometimes you learn through failures also. You improve through failures. So you should learn to detach from the results of an activity. In other words, you should be more attached to the work, and that is known as detached work. And And how do you do this? With the equanimity. Equanimity means it's like you're trying to sail across the ocean. Obviously, the ship will go up and down or sideways in this way, or the aircraft is flying, it may suddenly drop or go high and swing also. But it is as long as it's on course, it is likely to reach the destination. So equanimity. And if you practice work like this, if you do work like this, then there is no loss. Even if there's some loss, little bit loss is there, ultimately you will gain. And Vyavasaya intelligence, you should have a fixed intelligence because the mind is depending on the intelligence and the senses are depending on the mind. So if the intelligence is not fixed, then the mind becomes disturbed and all the senses also won't function properly. So how do you fix the intelligence? That is possible through following some guidelines. No matter how intelligent you may be, an aircraft pilot is there. He has to follow the guidelines set by the aviation industry. You cannot just take the aircraft and drive as he likes. Or you may be an expert driver, but you have to follow the traffic rules. So this Vyavasaya Buddhi means you are following some guidelines mentioned in the Karma Kanda section. Karma Kanda means the Vedas or knowledge. It has three different divisions: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda, also about bhakti. So Karma Kanda is that section which tells how to get a result. If you are result oriented, how to perform an action. And how to practice Nishkama Karma Yoga. But at the same time, supposing you get the result you want, then you start to enjoy the result and forget about the work. Many times we see a person scores very well and he's spending all the time enjoying the result. He's always celebrating his victory and he neglects his work. So that is also not good. So Nishkama Karma Yoga, benefits of acting in Buddhi. What is that's also Krishna is elaborating on. What are the benefits of using our intelligence, best use of the intelligence? So then, this intelligence also has to be fixed in knowledge. It should be based on some experience. That is known as Sthita Prajna. Prajna means knowledge. Sthita means situated. So, so qualities of a liberated soul, Juvan Mukta. Although theoretically we say we should be detached from the results of an action. Practically we face a lot of problems. So therefore, we have to follow the examples of someone who's already fixed. So that's why it says, first we have to identify who is Sthita Prajna, and if we follow under his guidance, then gradually we become that perfection. So now Arjuna is inquiring about such a person. Just like many of us before we came to IIT, we were motivated by some other IIT. For example, an All India third rank person, he came to my school and gave a talk. Then I felt inspired. Okay, he's so intelligent. Maybe I should also appear for this exam. So when you see already a person in an elevated position, you feel motivated. So Arjuna wants to know how to recognize a person who has fixed intelligence. And what are his symptoms? How does he sit? How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he respond to different situations and respond to different people? So because we told we have to tolerate dualities, but practically it is a problem. But if you see someone who is able to tolerate these dualities, we can understand in practice. So analogy is given of a tortoise. Tortoise, as you know, is a very slow-moving animal. But if there is some danger, it immediately withdraws its limbs into the shell. And once the danger goes away, it pulls out its limbs. So similarly, we should know our limitations. And within that, if we act also, we can be successful. It's not that we should be perfect in everything. Whatever we are perfect, if we can utilize it properly. So, sense control is difficult even for the wise. What is sense control? Sense control doesn't mean denying the senses. It's not that I close my eyes, close my ears, close my mouth, and stop functioning. Sense control is utilizing them properly, and it's only possible by Krishna Bhakti. So, what is Krishna Bhakti means? We should be utilizing them for the highest purpose. So, this section also Krishna talks about what is the cause for fall down. Fall down means you are supposed to do some job, but you end up failing in that. So, Dhyayato Vishwan Pumsaha. While contemplating the object of senses, you see something and you get distracted. You hear something and get distracted. So there are many ways you can get distracted from your goal. So but that doesn't matter. There is distraction all around you. But one develops attachment. If you keep on thinking about something, suppose someone abused you, then you keep on thinking about that. Then from that lust arises. Lust arises means you are diverting your attention to that one thing. Then from that anger arises. Because you become frustrated, you are not able to get over that thought. Then anger. So like this, Krishna explains what are the 8 stages. We'll see that in detail. So if you want to progress in this path, we should always accept an authority, and he should say that we are following the right way. Just like you're writing an exam, because someone has to evaluate you how well or bad you are doing. So the progress on this yoga process has to be evaluated by someone superior. So that's why it says, by attaining the Lord's mercy, one's intelligence is established and one attain peace. Mercy means you are pleasing someone, you are satisfying some superior authority. Agitated senses carry away the intelligence, and Sthita Prajna is unagitated. So although the intelligence is superior to the mind and mind is superior to the senses, currently our senses are very weak. Supposing we have a very huge building high-rise building is there, but foundation is very weak, then no matter how nice rooms you have, everything will collapse. So similarly, although this intelligence is superior to mind and the soul is superior to the intelligence, still if the senses are the ones which are connecting to this world, so if they are weak, then it can drag the intelligence. So in the previous chapter, okay, we have already discussed this. So we'll go to verse 31 onwards. So before that, Krishna had elaborated on the qualities of the soul, how it is difficult to practically act on the platform of the soul. Although many people are amazed to hear about it, or they even doubt it, or they may have seen it in their life, but still to act on the platform of the soul is difficult. So that's where we entered the verse number 30. But nevertheless, Krishna told Arjuna that you perform your duty as a Kshatriya. Now, in this section, he is going to give further motivation as to why he should act according to his nature. So, this Sakama Karma, as we said, performing prescribed duty gives enjoyment. For every type of enjoyment, there's a prescribed method. Supposing I want to enjoy seeing something, I have to observe it in a certain way. If I have to enjoy music, I have to hear it in a certain way. I have to appreciate a painting means I should know something about the painting. So like that, to appreciate any enjoyment, we should have some process. We should follow some prescription. Just the same example I gave. If you want to recover from some illness, you have to follow some prescribed methods. So here this Krishna is talking about if the enjoyment is the motive for your action, how to perform such actions. Why Krishna is telling this? Because Arjuna in the earlier chapter told Krishna that he was not confident about victory. And even if he won the war, how will he enjoy if all of his family members are killed? So that was his one main reason why he wanted to avoid this war. So therefore Krishna tries to motivate Arjuna by saying that if he fights for religious purpose, if he wins the war, he will enjoy the kingdom, and if he dies also, he will be assured heaven, just like you are fighting for some country. If you win the war also, you are rewarded. And if you die in the process of fighting also, your family members will get the benefit. Of course, you may say the person who died didn't get any benefit because he already died. But whereas our scriptures are saying that there are demigods who are given this body, and when we use the body to serve the right purpose, they ensure that you get another body. Just like if you're working for some company and something happens to your house or to the vehicle, they will give you another house or another car. Similarly, when we use the body properly, then the demigods ensure that we get a superior body in case we die prematurely. So now the question is, what is duty? Duty means something which only you can perform. I have been telling several times. Supposing this mic is there, the duty of the mic is to function like a mic. I can use it as a paperweight or a missile also, but that is not its duty. The duty of this mic is to help me to amplify my voice. So like that, everyone has been created with a very specific purpose. Just like this laptop has been created for a very specific purpose. Of course, you can use it in many different ways, but ideally, there's a definite utility. So each of us have a specific purpose. We have every moment of our life is for a specific purpose. So if we recognize that, then we can really be happy in whatever we are doing. So that is considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya. Krishna is reminding Arjuna that he has been trained to fight. He has the mentality of a fighter, and therefore he should act according to that. There is no better engagement for you than fighting, so there is no need for hesitation or fear. So one man's food is another man's poison. What is my duty may not be your duty, and what is your duty may not be mine. But as long as we are doing our allocated duties, we can get our respective amount of happiness. So Swadharmam api chavekya na vikampitum artis. Vikampitum means need not fear. Dharmya di yudhachreyo. Because you are fighting a religious war. So what is a religious war? Such that war is beneficial to everyone. Actually, we don't like to fight, but sometimes there's a necessity to fight. So if that is guided by some higher principles, then there's no sin incurred. Kshatriyasya na vidyate. So such opportunities when they come, you should accept it and not reject it. What is the destination by doing your prescribed duties? Swarga. That is, in our case, we can say a better enjoyment opportunity. The fortunate of the Kshatriyas to whom such religious fighting opportunities come unsought, opening the doors forever. Of course, we can do the same duty in different situations. Supposing you are a qualified engineer, you can work for different companies. But if you are working for some government or some higher, with a higher purpose, then definitely the benefits are much different. So similarly, when you engage in some religious war, Krishna is saying that the destination is the higher best. So why should you lose this opportunity? Just like many people are trained in the Navy, Army, and the Air Force, but we see most of the time there is no war. So usually they are used for some other purposes. Some earthquake comes, some natural calamity happens, disaster happens. So they normally these armed forces are used for that purposes. But if let us say a real war is happening, that is the right engagement of such a person. So, at the same time, it doesn't mean I can be indiscriminately violent. Supposing I'm a policeman and I'm given a rifle, AK-47 rifle has been provided to me. So just because I'm not using it, suddenly I cannot say I will use it to kill the neighbor or some thief in my house. No, it has been given for a specific purpose. So violence also cannot be used indiscriminately. So it should be approved by someone. That's why it is known as prescribed duty, which means someone has to prescribe it. Just like you're going to go to the medical shop and buy all the medicines and say that I'll cure myself. But you go to a doctor and who prescribes the medicine. And in fact, some drugs, especially in foreign countries, they are not given unless it is prescribed. So this duty has to be prescribed by some authorities. So killing or being killed is a religious battle leads to heaven and not heaven. Just like two warriors are there, they are on the opposite parties. Whether you are on the other side or this side, as long as you're fighting for the right cause, you are respected. Supposing an enemy camp, a person from the enemy camp dies in your country, you have to give him due respect and return that body to that country. So like this, next Krishna talks about sin or papa. If you do not fight, then you will incur sins. As I said, sin means when you go against your nature. One man's food is another man's poison. What is food for you may be poison for someone. Supposing you are a very healthy person, you are recommended to eat something. But if you are not healthy, the same food you have to avoid. So similarly, some duties are exactly meant for you and it may not be meant for someone else. But if you do go against that and say, why cannot I do? Why only he should do? I will also do. Then that creates two problems. One is if everyone starts doing the same thing, then there will not be people to do some things which are required. Suppose all of us come to colleges and nobody goes to the fields and does agriculture. Then who's going to produce our food? And if all of us say, decide to do one specific duty, there will be definitely some shortage of manpower in some areas. And or let us say all of us want to study the same course and there are no sufficient jobs, then what is the use? So like that, if you violate this principle of following a prescribed duty, it can be harmful to you as well as to the social system. Then Krishna tells about Akirti, infamous. Supposing you're a qualified engineer and you want to work like a doctor, then obviously you're losing your reputation as an engineer. Thus, you will lose your reputation as a fighter and people will speak of your infamy. You are known for your fighting skills. And now, if you say that I will avoid fighting and go to the forest and do begging and meditate, people obviously scorn at you. For a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Better to die in the battle. Later also, Krishna says, better you get destroyed in performing a prescribed duty than doing some other's duty. Next, he tells about criticism. See, infamy means you invite bad name. You do something really bad and people talk bad about you. Criticism means even if you have not done anything bad, people find faults in you. So these are all relative. That is known as Tinda. The great warriors who regarded you very highly will consider you insignificant, thinking that you left the battlefield out of fear only. Arjuna is giving one reason for why he doesn't want to fight. But others will not think like you. They will think in their own way. And they will think that you are left out of fear. Even if some person thinks bad about you, even though your intention is not good, just like you're circulating a feedback form, my intention is to do the talk as good as possible. But it's possible that the person who has heard my talk is not happy. Nevertheless, I hear from him why he felt the talk was not good. So similarly, even though Arjuna thinks that he is leaving the battlefield for a higher purpose, others may think that he is leaving for out of fear, and that's also not good for him. And your enemies will speak of many unkind words about you, criticizing your ability. What could be more painful for you? So, what is the problem if people talk bad about you? That will discourage others who are depending on you. Supposing I'm the leader of some country and people are criticizing me, my followers also will get discouraged or demotivated. So we were depending on this leader and everyone is criticizing him. So what is our future? So this way, whoever respected him, whoever was following him, will feel discouraged because everyone is talking bad about Arjuna, who is their leader. Here Krishna points out that the warriors like Duryodhana and Karna will not think that Arjuna had left the battlefield out of compassion. Uh, they will only think that he fled out of fear of life. So we have to think in many different perspectives. It's not that I am satisfied, so I will do. Of course, ultimately you are doing actions for your satisfaction. But nevertheless, we have to give due credit or respect to others' feelings also. That's a much more matured way of doing actions. So what is the benefit? If you kill, you will attain heaven. As I said, it doesn't mean simply you fight and you die and you go to heaven. Only supposing you are playing cricket, you can go and play cricket in the street or somewhere. Nobody is going to give an award for that. But it's the same thing you go and play for the country or some particular tournament. Then you get a different type of remuneration or some award. So similarly, even if you do fighting, if it is for a religious purpose, because there are some superior authorities who are witnessing your action, they will ensure a higher destination, higher planets. So what is the benefit of going to heaven? Just like why you want to go to abroad. We know whatever I am doing here, if I do it abroad, I will get a much better remuneration or better comfort or better recognition. So the action is going to be the same, but because the situation is different, you feel much rewarding. So heaven is the place where there are already some perfect people. So if you go there, it's likely that you will be more recognized. And so rise and fight with the determination, Krita Nishchaya. So basically, Krishna is trying to motivate Arjuna that you don't get demotivated by the possible results of this war. Arjuna's argument was either I may get killed and I may lose the battle, or I may win, but at the expense of so many lives. So, what way I am going to benefit? Just like if you are not feeling hungry, you will think why I should cook. Similarly, Arjuna had reached the conclusion that by fighting, he would not benefit. So, immediately to motivate him to do the fighting, Krishna said that what are the benefits of fighting? Either he lives or dies, it is going to be beneficial. Now, Krishna will explain working in knowledge with without attachment to results or Nishkama Karma Yoga. So, but all the time you cannot be working for some result. After some time, you become frustrated. Just like some people is, let us say, is earning, working for some money. After some time, he thinks, what is the use? I'm getting the result anyway. I learned the art of doing work. I'm getting the result. So what is further beyond this? Then he tries to give that knowledge to others. So which means he tries to research, analyze, and see how to improve so that that expertise he can share with others. So therefore, Krishna is talking about this Nishkama Karma Yoga. That is, you whatever work you are doing, you see it from a neutral standpoint. Right now, you think I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the man in control. But slightly detach yourself. You observe yourself, your own actions from a neutral, as an objective way, not as a subjective way. So this is known as Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means using intelligence. So emotions means they come from the heart. The mind is only mostly emotional. Whatever we feel instinctively, emotionally, we are attached to that. But discrimination means comes from the brain or intelligence. There we try to rationalize and try to go above emotions. Some person is there, is very emotional. If everything is good, he will do very well. If some things are not good, he will do miserably. But someone who is intelligent, he will not be disturbed by these emotions. So, so another reason why Arjuna wanted to avoid this war was sinful reactions. If I do the wrong thing, I know definitely at the time of doing the wrong action, that suffering is awaiting me. Supposing a thief is there, he's stealing. At the time of stealing itself, he knows that I will be caught and punished. But still he goes ahead. So similarly, Arjuna argued that I know very well that if I have to win this war, I have to kill so many people. And if I kill especially my elders and family members, I will be incurring sinful reaction. So why should I fight? But then Krishna told him, tells him in this chapter, that you will be incurring sin not by killing, but by avoiding your duty. Uh, Arjuna was thinking that if I fight, I will be incurring sin. But Krishna told him, no, it's not by killing, but by avoiding. Supposing you're a policeman, and if you say, I will not shoot, then you will be punished. But if you are not a policeman and you start shooting, then you will be punished for shooting. So, which means if it's your duty and you're not doing your duty, then you will be punished. So, Krishna tells Arjuna that it's not by killing that you will incur sin. You will incur sin by avoiding this fighting because you are supposed to fight. But then Krishna is trying to tell him that how you can work in such a way that their reactions will not affect you. Supposing you are told to do something which you fear the consequences. Supposing I ask you to drive an aircraft and you are fearing that anything can go wrong. So then someone assures you, okay, it doesn't matter. Even if you crash the aircraft, you won't lose the job or you'll be taken care of. Then you will be motivated to do the work. So here Krishna tries to motivate Arjuna that even if you fear that there will be sinful reaction, there is a way, just like you are doing an operation. And if you are a quack, you are not an authorized doctor, and you conduct a surgery. Recently, someone did a hair transplant or something, and that person died and he was arrested. So, which means, uh, but sometimes doctors they get a declaration from the patient that we are doing this surgery. Our intention is to solve the problem, but in the course of this surgery, if something happens, we are not liable. So something like that, Krishna is assuring Arjuna that even if you fear that by doing this action you will be incurring sin, there is some remedy for that. So therefore, he gives him knowledge. Why? Supposing you are a doctor, you are given all the surgical equipment and you are cutting open the patient. That is, in one sense, you are doing harm to the body. But because you are doing it with knowledge, You have been trained as a doctor. So when you do that surgery, you know it is for the benefit of the person. But if I go and without any experience in medical field, I try to cut open the patient, then it's a crime because I don't have the knowledge. So therefore Krishna says that when you are doing with knowledge, the same activity which you considered sin, it is no longer sin. So work with knowledge and detachment. Just like we know some people are given death penalty. And death penalty means they have to be hanged. And someone has to be there to hang that person. Sorry, I'm giving may not be the right example. But he may not like to do that. But he is doing under the sanction of some authority. So therefore he is detached. He is not hanging that person because he wants to hang it. He is doing a detachment, just like the Supreme Court judge is there. One person is coming and pleading a case and he is giving him punishment. And another person is coming and pleading for some other case and is getting a reward. So the judge is not partial. He's not trying to favor someone and punish someone whimsically. He's doing his job in a detached way. Detached means he's attached to a higher purpose and not attached to the lower purpose. That is the meaning of detachment. Detachment is not completely giving up. You give up something lower for a higher purpose. That is detachment. So what is that? As an offering to the Lord. Which means when can you cultivate knowledge and detachment? When you take accept the higher authority. That is, first is called Nishkama Karma Yoga or Karma Yoga in short. So Karma Yoga means, Sakama Karma Yoga means you are thinking I am the only enjoyer, I am the controller, I am the doer. So give up that mentality and accept that we are working for a higher purpose, higher authority, and not just for my benefit. So fight as a duty. Now the question is, how can I do like this? That's why Krishna recommends equanimity in duality. Sukha dukkha samaya kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam vapsisi. Being equal in happiness and distress. Because if you think that I am the cause for happiness, you will also become the cause for distress. We see many times we think I will enjoy, but in the process, you become the cause for other suffering or your own suffering. So therefore, Krishna says, being equal in happiness and distress, gain or loss. If you say that I am the cause for the gain, then in some other situation you will feel the cause for the loss. And victory or defeat. Victory also depends on so many factors, and defeat also depends on so many factors. So we have to learn to practice this, tolerating these dualities. Don't go to the extremes. It doesn't mean I don't do anything. Don't go to the extreme of thinking that I am the enjoyer, or I am the one who has to gain everything, or I am the one who has to succeed every time. Fight for the sake of fighting as a duty, which means whatever you're doing, it should be under the direction of some superior authority. Just like some person is going for some training. So he cannot say that I think I am doing very well, I think I am doing bad. No, some coach has to say that yes, you're doing good, you're doing bad. So likewise, whatever duty we are doing, if we are doing under some superior authority, just like you're doing a PhD or MS thesis, you have accepted some guide or some authority, and under their direction when you do, you are given credit for that. And thus you shall never incur sin. The same activity when you do for yourself, when you do for under some superior authority, then it does not incur sin. You are not liable for punishment. As I give many examples, the soldier is fighting, he's killing people, but he is doing it under the direction of higher authority. The medical doctor is cutting open a patient and giving him anesthesia, but he is doing under the superior authority. So the judge is there, one person is rewarding him, one person is punishing him, but he is doing under the authority. So this is known as Buddhi Yoga. So first we talked about Sankhya Yoga and Jnana Yoga. That is the analytic study of the difference between the soul and body, the permanent and the temporary. Next we talked about Sakama Karma Yoga, that is prescribed duty for the sake of enjoying the result. Next, we talking about Nishkama Karma Yoga, where we are detached from the results but attached to the work through higher intelligence. Now, hear about Buddhi Yoga. That is, when you engage your intelligence in this yoga, you will become free from the bondage of work, karma bandha. So, intelligence is slightly different from knowledge. So, many people have knowledge, but intelligence means the better use of the same knowledge. So, how is that? Esha Vihita Sanke Buddhi Yoge Pumamshnu Buddhi Yukto Yaya Pata Karma Bandha Prahasasi. So, intelligent means we have these four kinds of people. One is the lazy fool. Lazy fool means is lazy and also foolish. Then you have the active fool. He's active, but still he is foolish. Then you have the active intelligent. He's active and also intelligent. But superior than him is the lazy intelligent. Why is lazy? Because he's intelligent, but he doesn't try to do everything by himself. He delegates responsibilities. He knows that no matter how intelligent I may be, I have to work in a team. That's why you see in many job selection process, they ask you to participate in group discussion. Why? They want to study how good you perform in a team and not just as an individual. So similarly, lazy intelligent means he is intelligent but also accepting a higher authority. So that's why here Krishna says the Acharyas have explained that in this section Buddhi Yoga indicates both Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So what does it mean? Not only you should do your duty, but it should serve a higher purpose. So that higher purpose is known as Bhakti. Uh, Devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. So we should understand that under whose arrangement are we doing everything. Like I am doing this program. Obviously, I should be grateful to the institute or the director because if they don't sanction, I cannot be doing this. So similarly, whatever we are able to do, every living entity is able to do. At least theoretically, we should accept that there is a God in control, and He wants us to. He has designed this world with a specific purpose. And if I manage to do that, that is known as Bhakti Yoga. So why we should do this? One may ask why I should be a devotee. Why I cannot accept some other authority than God? Why I should be religious? These questions may arise. Why? Because it's explained the next verse. There no loss in this yoga. Neha Vikramanashvasti Pratyavayona Vidyate Swalpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahatopaya. Just like you are working for a small company, and if some loss happens, supposing on the way something happens to you, they will say, sorry, we cannot pay for the loss, you are responsible. Supposing you fall sick, they will say whether you are healthy or sick doesn't matter, you didn't do the job, you didn't come to work, so I will not pay you. But let us say you are working for a better company, even if you go on leave, medical leave, they will still pay you. And in fact, they may pay for your medical expenses also. Same situation, but the reaction, the response is different. Similarly, Krishna says, you may be doing your activity, but when you do that same activity for me, even if there is some some kind of a loss, ultimately you don't lose. You will ensure that you don't lose in the ultimate issue. So this in this endeavor, there is no loss of diminution. So what is the loss? Ultimately, the loss is when you are not able to do your work. Supposing you worked very hard and you lost all many times in research work we see, we spend so much money, time and energy, and at the end of the experiment, it's all wasted. But let us say you don't get discouraged and you continue to do the work. And maybe what you can make up for the loss, whatever you lost in the first attempt, maybe in the second attempt you will get more than what you lost. So that's why he says, if you are working for me, even if you lose something, I will give you another opportunity where you can perform better. So even little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So what is the most dangerous situation when we lose this human body? Because in this human body, even if you go to the higher planets, there are some limitations. To go to the lower planets also, it's very limitations. But only in this earth planet, in this human form, you can achieve complete perfection. So Krishna will ensure that you get back the human life. That's why they say sometimes 7 births, 7 human, you are given 7 chances. Even if you are not able to perfect your life in this human body, you get another birth as a human body, provided you live like a human. If you live like an animal in a human body, that is not guaranteed. So therefore, Krishna says, if you perform bhakti in this human life, even if you are not successful, I'll give you one more opportunity, like that. So, Vyavasayatmika intelligence and Veda Karma Kanda, Vedic Karma Kanda. So, for this, you need one-pointed intelligence. Supposing I give you 100 rupees and you end up going and spending it all for buying different things, and but you don't have money to buy what you are supposed to buy. That is not very intelligence. But what you do, I give you 100 rupees, I invest in the what I'm supposed to buy, and then gradually with that I earn some more money and then make other investments. That is intelligence. So Vyavasaya Buddhi Ekeha Gurunandana Bahushaka Yanantascha Buddhayo Avyavasayana. So this is a very important, very important instruction. Those who have one-pointed intelligence are resolute in purpose. One-pointed intelligence means you should know how to prioritize things in life. What is the topmost priority in life? Then you can accommodate all the other things. The famous example is there, a jar is there. You have different size of pebbles and you are asked to fill it up. So all of us know the answer. We first put the big ones and then fill up the caps with the smaller ones. Similarly, we should know what is the topmost priority in life. If we are able to fix a goal on that, then gradually we are able to accomplish everything else in life. But if you miss the topmost priority and start running behind the smaller ones, you miss both. That's why you have writing a competitive exam. One question is for 10 marks, another is for 1 mark. Obviously, you have to give more time to the 10 marks and then gradually come to the smaller ones. So similarly, those who have one-pointed intelligence are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one, the beloved child of Kurus. Again and again, Krishna is motivating Arjuna by reminding him of his glory, how he had a glorious past, and he should continue in the same way. But the intelligence of those who are irresolute has many branches of action and unlimited desires. What is the problem if you are not focused on the result or the goal? And naturally, a river is there. Supposing a river is going in full force in one direction, and some obstacle is put on that way. Actually, it will divide into many branches. If you see much of the major rivers, they were going in one particular course, and a mountain or something comes in the way, and naturally it will diverge into many directions. Similarly, if you don't have a focus in life, all your energy and thoughts will go in many different directions. So therefore, Krishna says, the unintelligent followers of the why this happens because you are not following some the Vedas. Vedas means it's a knowledge given by God Himself. Just like if I'm using this mic, the manufacturer of the mic knows how best to use it. So if I follow his direction, I will get the best out of it. Similarly, God has given us some intelligence and He has told how to utilize it. That is given in the Vedas. Veda Vadarata, the unintelligent followers, but there are some people, they blindly follow knowledge without experience, without using their intelligence, without proper application. Some people also follow, if I tell them 10 people to do the same thing, each one will try to do it in his own way. So, are attached to the flowery words Pushpadam Vacham of the Vedas. Because the Vedas, they try to motivate different types of people. And to motivate different types of people, they give promise some results. So it doesn't mean that 10 of us do the same thing, all of us will get the same result. Just like in our famous physics lab or chemistry lab. The theory says that if you mix A and B, you get C. But practically, we know that all of us are not going to get the same result. You might have experienced this. So that some things have to be accepted, that all of us do the same work. It's not that all of us will get the same result. Then you will say, Vedas only told that if you do this, you will get this result. He did that work and he got the result. I did, but I didn't get the same result. So should I doubt the Vedas? So therefore, Krishna says, they are flowery words, which means They're not to be taken so, you should not give too much importance to something, although it is there in the Vedas. Just like in Google, if you do Google search, everything appeals to us as good, authorized, authentic information. But we cannot put full weight into that. We know something has to be accepted in relative importance. Something is absolute, something is relative. So you cannot blindly follow the Vedas also. You have to basically use your intelligence, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation, human good birth, power, and so forth. Just like a small child is there, to motivate him, you have to tell him so many things. But as you grow up, you don't need such motivations. Whether the motivation is not there or not, to still do your work. So, which means you should become more and more intelligent. So, who's said to be the most unintelligent? He is always expecting to enjoy something. Every moment, sometimes there is some government office, some people, they are always expecting some bribe. Unless you give them a bribe, they won't move this paper from here to there. Every step you have to keep on bribing them. So because they are not intelligent, they think that they are intelligent by taking a bribe. But there are much more better people who are more intelligent. When one is attached to Bhoga and Aishwarya, you cannot have one-pointed intelligence. If all the time your motivation is to enjoy in life, if all the time your motivation is to Aishwarya, that is unlimited. You want some enjoyment, that's okay. And we are not saying that you should work for absolutely no enjoyment. But that also to the extreme. Supposing I have one car, that's okay. The desire is okay. But if I want to have 10, then it's something beyond limits. So what are the obstacles for this one-pointed intelligence? Bhoga, Aishwarya, Prasaktana. Bhoga and Aishwarya. Bhoga means enjoyment. Aishwarya means unlimited enjoyment. And Prasaktana means attachment. Because the world is created such a way that there is everything for everyone's enjoyment. But if someone thinks that I will enjoy at the expense of others, then obviously nature will not permit that. So that's why it says, Taya aprutha chetasam. What happens if you desire like that? For those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and are bewildered by them, their consciousness being stolen by lust and greed. That's known as lust and greed. Lust and means you're trying to enjoy something which you cannot really enjoy. Supposing I give you a lot of sweets, the man in the sweet shop, he is the owner of the sweet shop. Doesn't mean he can sit and eat all the sweets. So, which means there's a limit to our enjoyment. And greed means we try to get more than what we need. So there's everything for everyone's need, but not sufficient for everyone's greed. So it's a famous saying. So, Vyavasayatmaka buddhi samadona vidyate. Resolute or one-point intelligence, determination, yoga, and fixed mind do not take this. So, if all the time you are thinking about enjoying and that too unlimited enjoyment, then your determination to do work in the best possible way will never happen. So, rise above Vedic Karmakanda, Traigunya Vishya Veda. So, now why the Vedas are giving different prescriptions for different types of activities and enjoyment? Why? Because there are people in the three modes, Traigunya. Some people are in the mode of goodness, some are in passion, and some are ignorant. Some person is really lazy. You have to motivate him, you have to give some liquor or something. So, some person who is passionate, you have to promise him some result. Some person who is really good, you don't need to give him anything. You tell him and he does. So, we have seen this. So, Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The subject of Veda is mainly the three modes, which means the Vedas are giving many prescriptions for many people, but you cannot whimsically follow everything. Just if I go to Google and want to get knowledge, I will get different types of knowledge. It doesn't mean everything is practical for me. So, Nistraya Gunyo Bhava Arjuna become transcendental to these modes, which means you don't get captivated by these different promises. Supposing if you are looking for a job and someone says this job is good, this company is good, next one says this university, that one, like that. If you paralysis by analysis, by thinking too many options, you get more confused. So be free from dualities in pure spiritual state. Nidvango Nitya Satyasto, which means all the time you cannot be expecting options. If you see the biggest problems were solved when there was a dead end, they reached a dead end where they could not go this way, that way, they accepted it and proceeded further. Like imagine a numbers are there. Imaginary number was a big deadblock, I mean roadblock. They could not explain the square root of a negative number. So many years they have tried to avoid this imaginary number. But later they started using these imaginary numbers and a whole range of science and technology came. So like that, it's not that you reach a dead end in life, that's the end of it. Supposing you are walking along the road and a huge mountain is coming. So you can say a mountain is blocking me, let me go back. But there have been people who have dug tunnels through the mountain, or climbed the mountain, or went around the mountain. Or, so all these options are there. You should not take it that. So, be free from all dualities in the pure spiritual state, freed from all anxieties for gain and safety, being established in the self and spiritual consciousness. So, how can you overcome these dualities? Then you have to be fixed in the conception of the soul, because the soul has no dualities. The soul has no happiness, suffering, gain, loss, victory, defeat, fame, infamy. It does not apply to the soul at all. So, if you are fixed in that consciousness, then you will not be affected by these dualities. Because you are not affected by the dualities, you will be able to do uninterrupted work, unmotivated work. So the Vedas are from the beginning to the end. Just like mathematics, you have a lower level mathematics and higher level mathematics. That higher level mathematics may contradict the lower level, but that doesn't mean you reject one portion of the mathematics, saying that it's contradictory. It is contradictory, yes, but the contradiction also has some purpose. So likewise, in the Vedas itself, you will find some contradictions. One man's food is another man's poison. You go to a drugstore and someone comes with a prescription, and the druggist, he gives the medicine, and another person comes and says, I want the same medicine. He says, where's the prescription? He says, no, you gave him, why can't you give me? I have the money. No, I cannot give you unless you have a prescription. So like that, the Vedas are prescribing different things for different people, and I should know how to intelligently utilize that knowledge. So what is the benefit if you use your intelligence and follow the Vedas? You will be overcome the influence of the three modes. The three modes are restricting you, just like an aircraft is there. It has to run on the runway for some time. But after that, it has to lift off. Otherwise, if you keep on running on the runway, it will go and crash. So similarly, we should know how much we have to depend on the three modes and how much to transcend the three modes. The same thing we accept in one situation, and some situation we have to reject the same thing. So knowing the purpose of this, basically you should know the purpose of knowledge. Knowledge means actually three things are there. It's not that you know and that is knowledge. There should be an object of knowledge. Supposing you are doing some course, before you start the course, whether it's BTech or MTech or PhD, you look for the future. Okay, if I do this, what will I be doing after the completion of this course? So like that, if you do, that's more intelligent. Some people say, I just joined because I didn't get a job. I didn't know what to do in life. So that is not very intelligent. If you know that there's an objective for this knowledge, then that is complete. And that's also not enough. If you say, I know what to do after I complete this, better than that is there should be a knower. Knower means who has already gone through this knowledge and objective knowledge and already achieved it. If you have, just like you have a PhD guide, which means he has the knowledge, knows how to apply it, and he also knows how to guide you. So knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower. These three things only make it complete knowledge. Otherwise, it will be partial. So how to practice this Nishkama Karma Yoga? Beautiful work with the detachment to result. Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturpur ma te sangos prakarmani. This is a very important word, often misquoted. Why it is misquoted here? It says Karmanyevadikaraste. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty. But people think that I have a right to perform a duty, and I will create my own duty, and I will say I'm very busy. If I ask some people why you didn't come to this class, they will say I'm very busy. But it may or may not be your duty. If it is your prescribed duty, okay. But if it's not your prescribed duty and you're wasting your time, energy, and money on that, nobody is going to reward you for that. So you have a right to perform your prescribed duty. Ma phaleshu kadam. If you are doing your prescribed duty, then the results, whether good or bad, will not affect you. But if you're not doing a prescribed duty, it really matters if you get the result or not. You are not entitled to the results of action. What does it mean? That the result is given by a higher authority. Supposing you're working for some company, you cannot say that I'm working and so I will pay myself. Someone else is paying for you. You're doing the work and someone else is paying for you. Similarly, you have a right to perform a duty, but the results of the action are given by someone else. So this has to be clearly understood. And ma karma phale hetu, never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activity by desiring results. Because even when doing the action, you are not the only person. Just like I am doing, because some facility has been provided, you all have come here. I cannot giving this talk to myself because all of us come together, something is happening here. So I cannot claim that I am the only doer. So naturally, I cannot claim the full authority over the results also. We have to share the action and we have to share the results of the action also. So never be attached to not doing your duty by thinking the results are not yours anyway or by fearing that results cause bondage. So for two reasons, you may say, I don't want to do a work. When you ask some person why you don't want to do, he will say, what is in it for me? What is it I will benefit by doing this work? So never be attached to not doing your duty by thinking the results are not yours anyway. Because sometimes you have to work for others. It's not that all the time I will work only for myself, because others are also working for you when they don't have to do. Just like someone has set up all these things, he has worked for you. So naturally, you have an obligation to work for others. It's not that all the time you think about yourself. So therefore, never be attached to not doing duty by thinking that the results are not used way or by fearing that the results cause bondage. Some people think that, okay, I may be doing for someone else, but in the process, I am going through so much trouble. Just like if I think I'm already earning quite a lot of money and I have some other recognition, and why I should come here, spend my time and energy, money, if I think like that, that's also not very intelligent because someone thought about my benefit. Although they had no obligation, they thought about my benefit. So naturally, I have an obligation to help others, even though I am not required to do that. So karma prescribed activities enjoined as per one's nature. So how are these duties prescribed to you? According to your nature. Supposing you are a qualified engineer, then it's best to act like an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor because you have been qualified for that. So prescribed nature is duties based on your qualifications and your interest and ability. So which means it has been developed over a period of time. They are of three kinds. Nitya karmas. There are three types of prescribed duties. One is called Nitya karmas or routine duties, auspicious in us. You know something daily, for example, you have to wake up at certain time, you have to do certain things in the morning or the night. So they are common to everyone. At least every human being has to do some things because he has a human body. So that is known as a Nitya karma. And then there is the for example, we know this is good, this is bad. Common sense. There are some things based on common sense. We know this is good and bad for us. So that is Nitya karma. Then there is Kama karma. Kama karma means you have a very specific desire. Supposing you go to the mess, food is available for generally for all kinds of people. But supposing you have a specific desire to eat one particular thing, they may say, sorry, we have not made it in the mess. If you want that, you can go and buy somewhere else. So similarly, if you want a particular desire, then you have to work specifically for that purpose. That's known as the kama karma or desired activities. The third category is emergency duties. Emergency means that time emergency knows no rule, which means normal circumstances you do your duties, but in emergency situations you may have to do something which you didn't anticipate. Just like in the pandemic, we had to work from home. We were not used to it, but we had to do it in emergency. So like that, there may be some duties when called upon in an emergency. You should not say, no, I will not do, I have never done this before. It is the need of the hour, we have to respond. And these are all coming under karma. But then there is something called vikarma, which means it is not your prescribed duty. So how do we know what is not prescribed for me? Capricious action or action without the sanction of authority. Which means anything you do, there should be an authority for it. Either by word, he should have told you, or he should have given a written instruction, or he should have deputed someone under whom you are supposed to do. But if you do whimsically, supposing someone told me to bring some water, and I think milk is better than water, and I bring a glass of milk, then I am not doing proper duty, because he has asked specifically water for some purpose, and if I think over intelligently I give him something else, that is not my prescriptive. Capricious action or action without the sanction of authority is known as vikarma. Then akarma, inaction or not performing one of the script. There are two types of akarma. One is a person is not at all doing the work, because he is thinking, if I do this work, maybe some good will happen, some bad will happen. So better avoid the work itself. That is one sense good, but one sense bad. Other person is akarma is doing, that is he is doing under the prescription of someone. And that absolves him over the consequences. Like for example, someone may tell you to do something knowing very well it is harmful for you. Just supposing they have to catch a major criminal, they have to put someone's life at stake. Then what that person does it because he knows I am sacrificing my life for higher purpose. There have been many instances like that. The person knows that there is no other option. He has to sacrifice himself, and he does it, and he is recognized as a hero. So that is akarma, which means he is completely dedicating his life for a higher purpose. Arjuna is not fighting is another side of attachment which doesn't lead to liberation. Any attachment, positive and negative, is cause for bondage. So if you have a bias, you are biased or preferences, then always it's likely that you will go in these two directions. Either it will be karma or vikarma. But if you want to be focused, then you do akarma. Vikarma and akarma are sinful. So fighting as a matter of duty was the only auspicious path of liberation. So neither you avoid your work, nor you do whimsical action, but better you work for the higher purpose in mind. So yoga is equanimity. Yogastav kuru karmani sankam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhav samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. So what is equanimity? When you put aside your preferences and you serve someone with a superior, that is equanimity. Yoga is equanimity. Perform your duty being situated. In other words, you are always connected to someone. Based on you are giving priority for your relationship. You have so many relationships. You just set aside your personal priorities and you give importance to that relationship. In order to maintain that relationship, if you are sacrificing something, that is yoga. Perform your prescriptive duty being situated in yoga. Arjuna give all attachment to results be equal to success and failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. So all this is possible when you are connected to someone much superior to you. Here yoga means concentrate the mind upon the supreme by controlling the ever disturbing senses. Right now my senses are always disturbing me. I see something here, smell, taste and touch, and I'm always getting disturbed from my goal. But if I know, I identify a higher purpose, higher person, supposing you're working for some person who you know is very important, then whatever inconveniences are there, you will tolerate. Because you know at the end of all this, that person is going to protect me and is my well-wisher. So reject all abominable actions. What is an abominable action? Well, that's already explained. When you do whimsically some action which is not prescribed either by authorities or the scripture or by common sense, then that's an abominable action. Avaram karma, sakam karma by buddhi yoga. In other words, Krishna is always motivating Arjuna to use his intelligence. This is very important. We should understand. Always we should act intelligently. You cannot blame others. You cannot blame situations. Always you have to accept the blame. So how can you overcome this blaming mentality? By using our God-given intelligence. And those who want to enjoy the fruits of the work are misers. So Krishna is clearly telling this. Supposing I am working for an industry, I am producing some automobiles, and I start using the automobiles saying that I only produced all these automobiles and I will enjoy them. That is foolishness. You made it so that it can be distributed and sold. So how are you intelligent? So therefore it says miser means if you think that I am the worker, I am the enjoyer, that is foolishness. You are working as a part of a system. So naturally you are entitled to share the benefits, especially with the higher authority. Durena Havaram Karma Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya Buddha Sharanam Anvicha Kripana Malahetava. So who's a Kripana? Who's a miser who thinks that I am the only enjoyer? And what are the benefits of acting in this way? No reactions. One gets rid of all both good and bad reactions even in this life. If you learn to work with a higher purpose, then even if you sometimes winning, sometimes losing, sometimes gaining, sometimes loss, sometimes happy, sometimes distress, they will not affect your work, because ultimately result is coming because we are doing some work. And if you totally stop doing work or doing something else, then you cannot expect what you want else also. So therefore engages in yoga without attachment, which is real skill or the art of our work. So working without attachment doesn't mean you do work saying that whatever result comes doesn't matter to me, I will simply work. No, you should always try to see whether I can satisfy someone superior to me by that work. At least someone, even if I am not satisfied, if someone is satisfied by my work, that is my success. So no birth, what is the other benefit of working like that? No birth death cycle. Why this birth death cycle happens? Because if you are not successful in something, you have to repeat a course. So similarly, if you have failed in the purpose of human life, if you have failed to perform a prescribed duty, you have to repeat. Again, you are given another opportunity to do the same thing. And sometimes it is frustration. Why I have to repeat the same thing? So one becomes free from the cycle of birth and death, janma karma, janma bandha vinamukta. Actually, in one human life itself, we can perfect, or at least we are given 7 opportunities, but still we are not successful. That is the failure. So, so ultimately, this body is meant to keep us peaceful. Whatever body, mind we are acquired, it is meant to make us peaceful in life. But if we are not utilizing this opportunity properly, we become most disturbed and we disturb others also. So, become indifferent to the Vedas. When your intelligence has crossed the dense forest of delusion, you should become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard about the fruits of action and Vedic rituals. In other words, even knowledge has a limit. It's not that everything you get through knowledge. You have to sometimes intuition, we call it intuition. Intuition means you cannot apply logic to that. Like Ramanujan was there, he found out so many formulas. Maybe he could not explain that time, or nobody could understand what is the significance of that formula. But now we see it is very intelligent. So sometimes intuition, you cannot give logically explain intuition. So which means you should go beyond the limits of mundane logic. So therefore Krishna says, even the knowledge which is available to you has some limit. So that you have to accept. Fixed achala buddhi and trans. In other words, our knowledge or intelligence has a limit that we have to accept. There definitely is some person who has more knowledge and more intelligence than me. We have to come to that reality. We cannot claim, no, I will not accept someone is more intelligent than me and more knowledge than me. Then you will never succeed in life. You all know that you have seen in your life that there is always some person who has more knowledge than me and more intelligence than me. So better intelligence means you try to serve such person who's in that position. So achala buddhi and trans samadhi. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery words of the Vedas and intelligence fixed in trance of self-realization, then it attained. So hearing about intelligence fixed in samadhi, Arjuna asked Krishna about the characteristics of such a yogi. Samadhi means you accept an authority, and whatever he says you do, even though you don't understand completely. Just like you go to a doctor and he tells you to do take this medicine. I don't understand much about the medicine or the treatment, but I have faith in the doctor and I will diligently follow that. So that is samadhi here. Arjuna is fixing his surrendering his intelligence to a higher authority. How do we recognize such people? Are there such people who have surrendered to some authority and been still successful, because we don't like the word surrender, because we think we are losing something. But if you are surrendering to a higher person, you will gain. So therefore, Arjuna is asking this question: how do you recognize that person to whom I should accept him as an authority? How do I know he is successful in life? So that is known as the qualities of a liberated soul, Jivan Mukta, which means he has gone beyond the limits of knowledge. Sometimes some knowledge is there, only comes from experience. You cannot write in a book and explain to you. You cannot write books about it. You have to say, accept what he says. Arjuna's questions about the Sthita Prajna, Kabasha, how does he talk, how does he walk, how do he respond to situation, how he remains fixed in different conflicting situations, how does he handle his emotions, all that he is asking. So first symptom is Rajahati Yada Kaman, one who gives up all kinds of material desires, which means desire is natural. Everyone has desires and they have to be cultivated and they have to be achieved. But there are some desires which come and go. They are known as material desires, which distract me from the goal. Unless you desire to achieve something, you cannot achieve anything. You say, unless you had a desire to come to IIT for something, you will not have been here. So that much is okay. But if something is desired, desiring other than this, which is not necessary, then that is known as a material desire. Rajahati Yaja Kaman Sarvan Partha Manorathan. So why are they coming and going? That's a Manoratha. That is the chariot of the mind. So mind, so many, suppose I am sitting in this class, so many thoughts are coming and going, but I should not get distracted by that. Then Atmanyevatma Santushta, satisfied in the self, is a servant also. So you should know what gives me real satisfaction. If you are satisfied with something, you will not go for the things which will anyway not give you satisfaction. Sthita Prajna Tadojyate is said to be a Sthita Prajna in pure consciousness. The mind withdrawn from the sense object is satisfied, the soul is very nature is present. There are two ways we can get happiness. One is, say, I can get out of this class and go. That is one type. But I am tolerating and sitting here. That's something, because I hope to get something out of this. Similarly, the happiness can come from the soul also, or from the sense objects. The problem with sense objects is dull matter. But this mic is there, I cannot eat this mic. It is there to help me speak, that much only it can do. But if I want to eat something or get some nourishment, I have to eat food. So similarly, the soul can nourish real nourishment from doing devotion. It cannot get any amount of happiness doing the material activities of maintaining the body. So this has to be accepted. So how he responds to he is undisturbed in mind amidst threefold miseries. There are three types of miseries. Miseries due to our body and mind, miseries due to other living entities, and miseries due to natural calamities. We saw in the pandemic how much miserable it was. So, but we have to be undisturbed. So, just like you have experienced, you have come up in life because there were some disturbances in the body, mind, others disturbed you, or there were some natural disturbances. But still, you continue to perform your work, and that's why you are successful. He is not elated when there is happiness. He is free from attachment, fear, and anger. Such a person is called a stage of steady mind, unaffected everywhere in this world by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it. Such a person is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. So, with many examples, Krishna is trying to say, which all of us might have faced, that we have to be fixed in our goal. Sthita Prajna is sense control, who is able to withdraw. An analogy is given like a tortoise, and tortoise knows its power. The tortoise strength with his shell. Its back is having a shell, and that is very hard, and that can protect it in danger. But at the same time, it doesn't take advantage of that protection and simply do whatever it wants. When there is danger, it immediately withdraws its limbs, and when the predator comes, then he sees, okay, some shell is there, and it goes away. Once the danger goes away, it brings out its limbs. So we should know our limitations, and if we know that and we act within that, we can still be successful. It's not that we should be expert in everything. Whatever little we know, if we make best use of it, we can still be, because God has provided everyone with equal opportunities for success. Then experiencing a higher taste. So what is another way we can avoid these disturbances in life? Just like if you have a higher objective in life, that's why it says, those Vishaya Vinivartande Niraharasya Dehina Rasavarjan Rasopyasya Parandrishtva Nivartya. Here the word rasa. Rasa is important. The taste for something. Supposing you are interested in some music and you are completely immersed in that. And even if something is disturbing around you, you will still be focused because you have learned to appreciate that music. Similarly, if you learn to appreciate what you're doing, then you will not be disturbed by these other distractions. So that's why whatever work we are doing, that's why people say, you enjoy the work you're doing. If you're eating some food, try to enjoy the food. Appreciate what you're eating, appreciate your situation, appreciate your work, appreciate your relations. Then you will be able to perform better. So same way, if you have a taste for this devotion, then whatever is disturbing your devotion will also not affect you. So that is what is the secret of this? How do you practice this sense control? Developing higher taste is the secret of success. So many times we make a resolution that tomorrow onwards I will not do this mistake. Or tomorrow onwards I will do this because I know it is really good for me. And the very next day we break that. Either we do that mistake or we don't do what we thought we will do. So that is because we are not fixed in proper Krishna consciousness or higher consciousness. So even the wise are distracted by the senses. Because the inferior thing is for example, a chemical reaction is there. It is said that the rate determining step is the slowest step. Slowest reaction is the rate determining step. No matter how fast you want to do, there will be always some problem which may be insignificant, but that is dominating. You can't help it. There are many situations we face in life. We want to achieve many things, but there's a minor problem, but that is troubling us like anything. So similarly, Krishna says, the senses are so strong and impetuous that they forcefully carry away the mind. Although the senses are inferior to the mind, they sometimes dictate over the mind which is superior. Many times we see this. So why is that? How to overcome that? One who restrains his senses and fixes consciousness of me, keeping the senses under full control, is known as a man of steady intelligence. So some things are meant to disturb us only. But nevertheless, although just like you are playing a game, there are always the people in the stadium trying to distract you. But initially they will distract you. But if you tolerate that distraction and you are successful, the same people will come and appreciate you. Many times we have seen that. I used to have a teacher in school. She always used to find fault with me. And I used to think why she is particularly pinpointing me. But later when I came out the third rank in the school or something, she came and congratulated me. You have proved your worth, she said. The same person was criticizing me, later came and appreciated me. So like that, if you tolerate the distractions, they may be ultimately lead to your success. So, but then if you don't follow this, if you say, I don't care about it, I'm happy with the way I'm living my life, I don't see any higher purpose, I don't see any need for devotion or any authority or any scriptures, then Krishna explains what is the cause for fall down. If you don't follow authority, if you don't follow scriptures, how you gradually fall down is being explained in these verses. While contemplating the object of the senses, one develops attachment for them. From such attachment, lust develops. From lust, anger. From anger, complete delusion. From delusion, bewilderment. From memory is lost. Intelligence lost. Intelligence lost. One falls down again into material exhaustion. So the beginning of downfall is when you think too much. Some people think so much that they make miserable of their life and others also. Like you see the chess champion Vishwanathan Anand towards the later part of his career. Slowly he was taking so much time to make a move, which means he's struggling, he's thinking too much, overthinking. So that is a problem, major problem. You see most of the mad people, why they became mad? Because they're too much thinking. So therefore Krishna says, when you start thinking about what you are seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, and you give more importance to that, then gradually you start falling down. So therefore, you should know how to make the next move. You should be very quick. use your intelligence, and that intelligence has to be given by the scriptures, authorities. Then if you learn to make the next move, like for example, Arjuna is on the battlefield. If he keeps on thinking and analyzing, he will never take the next step. Every moment he was ready to do what Krishna is saying. Then that's why he was successful. That is, so this is the chart explaining how this one will fall down, and therefore one should be sthita prajna. How to attain this? One who is free from attachment and aversion, engages senses and sense objects with controlled mind, or regulative principles of freedom, attains peace or mercy of the Lord. In other words, you have to practice some regulation in life. Unless you are regulated, like all of you are regulated now, you are able to sit here. There are many people within a few seconds they will leave this place, which means they are not regulated. Unless you are regulated your life, you are not going anywhere in life forward. So, what is the result of attaining prasada? Prasada means you are always trying to please an authority. Then if you see the most successful people, they had a mentor, they had a goal, and once they achieved that, they could go further. They had some higher authority, they accepted a higher authority, that person appreciated them and helped them to move forward in life. So, prasade sarva dukkhanam anirasyopi jayate prasanna chetaso yashu buddhi pagyavatishtati. By attaining the Lord's mercy or peace, all of one's distresses are destroyed. In such satisfied consciousness, when intelligence is soon established. So no matter how much struggles you are going through, as long as you are always protected and shielded and guided by a higher authority, you will definitely progress in life. So one who is not connected with the Supreme can have neither fixed intelligence nor steady mind. It's a very important verse. Without steady mind, there is no peace. Without peace, how can there be any happiness? So ultimately, we want happiness. Happiness is a state of the mind. If the mind is not peaceful, no matter everything may be there. That's why you see very rich, advanced countries, the suicide rate is so high. Because although they have everything, their mind is not peaceful. Why the mind is not peaceful? Because their mind is not using, they are not using the intelligence. Why they are not using the intelligence? Because they don't have a higher purpose in life. Why they don't have a higher purpose? Because they are not accepting a superior authority. That ultimate authority has to be Krishna or God. Even Brahma is confused, is not satisfied. So he is meditating and God is giving direction. So what to speak about us? So then if you the next verse is Indriyani Icharatam Tanmano Vidiyate Yatadasya Avati Prajnam Vayur Namal. Analogy is given that if you don't practice this regulation, if you don't practice controlling your mind and senses, just like previously the boats were flying on the ocean and they were driven by the wind. And if you don't learn to manipulate the wind, the boat will go in a totally different direction and it can even capsize. So the forces in your life, if you don't know how to direct them properly, you will get confused. There are so many disturbances in life, but you should learn to maneuver through them properly. You should use it in your favor, improvise them in your favor. So if you practice this sense control, mind control, and start using your intelligence, then whatever be the situation, it will come in your favor. Steady intelligence is therefore to restrain the senses from the objects by fixing the mind on Krishna, Almighty, and Sthita Prajna, spontaneous consciousness by perfectly absorbing his mind. So now one ultimate point is, okay, as you go in the right direction, the number of followers will be less. Just like the whole campus is there, number 20 people are here, 30 people. So just like you appeared for this JE or GATE, how many people, millions of people are there, but among them, a few even appear. In that appear, how many are succeeding? So naturally, if you are on this path, what is most important for you may not be important for others, or what may be important for others should not be any longer important for you. So this you have to be clear in mind. It's not that you can be a master of all trades, jack of all trades and master of none. So Yanisha sarvabhutani tasyaham jagrati samyami yasyani jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyate gune. So you should know you should learn to value things. What is most valuable, what is not so important. This is very important. No matter how successful you want to be, you should very clear this is most important. Supposing you are on a ship and the ship is going to drown and or the aircraft is there, they put a limit on the baggage, 15 kilograms, 25 kilograms. Why? Because You want to fly in the air. Obviously, you cannot fly with so much weight. So you have to sacrifice something. So naturally, if you want to succeed in life, you cannot try to satisfy everyone. You should know there's one authority, I will satisfy him, and that's sufficient for me. I cannot try to satisfy everyone, whatever desire comes to me. So that is the sacrifice. So the desires are concerned, they come like rivers in the ocean. So all the desires are coming ultimately from God only, because God is capable of fulfilling all his desires. Who is God? God means he has unlimited desires, and he has unlimited ways of fulfilling his desires. And so the analogy is given like an ocean. Ocean is holding all the water from the rivers. They come to the ocean, and the same ocean it evaporates as clouds, and the cloud comes to the land and comes down as rain on the mountains, and from the mountain again it comes back to the river, and these rivers come back to the ocean. So all our desires are coming ultimately from God, but no problem in that, but they should ultimately go back to where they came from. Then it's a complete cycle. Just like the water came from the ocean and it goes back to the ocean, that is complete. So similarly, when the desires are coming to us, we should not to channelize them properly. So that is the sum and substance of this chapter. So Krishna says that the root cause is false ego. False ego means you should know clearly who I am. If you know who you are, then you know what's legitimate desire, what's an illegitimate desire, what I can do, what I cannot do. So that's what this conclusion is. This Gita means he is fixed in the conception of the self. He knows very clearly who he is, what he is supposed to do, who is his authority. So that is the conclusion of this chapter. So that we can learn through bhakti process. Bhakti is basically trying to identify who we are, who is God, what is material nature, what is activity, and how time is very important. Never to waste time. Thank you very much. Any comments, questions? Normally I try to finish in 1 hour. Trying to be as elaborate as possible because there are so many concepts we are trying to cover. So we do the same thing in the course of Monday to Friday, 7 to 8 on online. So if you feel something you could not understand, you can still participate there. So any comments or questions in the chat, you can take it up, or you can ask. Those who are here also can ask. First, we'll give preference for those who, anyway, there are not much questions on chat. So those who have here, we'll take them. Even if you don't ask questions, at least you can tell what you learned from this session. At least 1 point. The benefit of Bhagavad-Gita is even if you understand 1 point, gradually it will help you to understand everything. Just like you have a small spark of fire is there and a huge cotton is there. Small spark is enough to extinguish the whole thing. Right now we have so many doubts. There's so much thing we do not know. But little knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, if you cultivate, gradually it will help you to understand so many things. So just like we also were, like you. So please feel free to either comment, or if you don't agree with what I said also, you're welcome. And in a polite way you can say why you don't agree or what doubts you have or what to accept. Okay. Feel free.
So I can see Sunday is Monday to Saturday we are working very hard. Then we have to take the rest in Sunday. At least preparation of the 1 week arrangement or next week. We can get some come.
And then 10 lakhs and then 9 lakhs and then at least to and other items. Many mistakes from old age systems, even can also have the same. But we know, but it doesn't know. I'm going to be more going to see every time. The human knows why it's not why not prepared. Because it's there. In the scriptures, that's why the plans, everything is there. So, like Krishna telling you want to prepare for this one, to control your mind. Then only you can come to this plan. Legally, also, I can't at this one. Control my mind. It is okay, but if you are trying for this, you will get the message. So, I will not very neatly, very decently, very nicely, we have to communicate the other people this knowledge is very essential. Elaborate them, among the over good partial is there. I can open inside see, this is the opportunity to another group by putting around the human life. We have to see smart students doesn't know what is engineering. And they but engineering people knows like your is the scripture is like very platform. It is teaching us you and at least I think firstly what I think I'll clear the second. First so many things. So I do very hard of people this opportunity
Anyone has a comment or question? Feel free to ask. Please do that. Ask. Yeah.
You want to so much so sometimes the old doing is to so after those old memories
Yeah, therefore, this hearing is very important. Just like among all our senses, the hearing sense is the most important. Just like when we were children, when a newborn child is there, it cannot see properly, it cannot taste what is good and bad, or it cannot smell properly, touch to some extent. But the hearing sense is the most powerful sense. If you see the five material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, ether is the most subtle, and that's related to sound. So when we hear from the proper source, then these thoughts, unwanted thoughts, will gradually subside or at least be under control. So because we lack that hearing, then all these unwanted thoughts keep coming up. So we have to give some importance to hearing, and what is the best hearing is the names of God. We, for example, every day I'm chanting 2 hours morning. I do chanting the past 30 years I've been doing, and I'm also doing my other routine works. Because unless that you tune your hearing properly, you cannot control the mind, because the next to the mind is the sound element. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. These are the 8 elements constituting this creation. The one below the mind is the ether. Ether means sound element. By sound element, you can control the mind. So that's why hearing plays a very important role in controlling our thoughts. Somewhat. Just like you're attending a very good lecture. That time, initially you are struggling with your thoughts because you are thinking about what you have been doing and what you have been hearing till then. Once you focus on what that person is speaking, then gradually these unwanted thoughts at least will subside for that time. So the best solution to handling the distracted thoughts is by hearing. You engage some time, you devote for hearing to a good lecture or good music. Sloka recitation is very important. That's why.
First of all, one of them just said that how to control emotions. Actually, I know very little, but I made few things in my practice. So actually, I want to share my experience for that. Thoughts and emotions are like water. If something is flowing, if you try to stop it, it will be so hard for you. So better just start that flow of water to some other useful direction. Like if you are having an emotion, just don't go flow with it. That the more you will think about it, the more you will get distracted. Ask your mind to think about something else. The same Acharya has said here that we engage in discussion. You say one thing I want to add that it's a good practice. You can listen, but ask also to not think about that. Because if you know, if that guy somebody, if you start playing, you will flow. You can't limit that. Oh, why this season, and please forgive me if I said something wrong. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with what you said. So what you said is exactly what you were saying. If you distract the mind is only in one direction. If you tell your mind, don't think of that, you are thinking of that. So what do? You distract the mind. And he said the importance of sound. Exactly. How important sound is if you distract the mind. So if you train your mind to hear maybe lectures every day or Mahamudra or some japa every day, then the mind is basically everything is a matter of practice. So if you are able to train the mind by practice, then that's why we train ourselves for everything, so that when the need arises, we can use it. So that's why we train the mind by practice. And that is sound is one very important practice. We take two ways. One, you hear lecture, or you hear music, or even over and over.
One more is engaging, keeping yourself engaged. So let the mind do its job. But if you are engaging your senses, for example, you are trying to see something, hear something, smelling also, or touching or tasting. Sometimes you're eating also some tasty food, then the thoughts will subside. So if you keep yourself engaged in the proper action, then also the thoughts in the mind will be subdued. Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
For the same thing which has the chapter, second chapter, that of Sinful Reactions. especially that slowly if you want to stop something, then that example of otherwise. We have to control our senses. That is the main basic of the distraction. We have to control our senses like our eyes, ears, taste buds, skin, thoughts. If we can control over them, we won't have anything of sorrow or joy. So basically, that is so happy about it.
So here control means not restricting, utilization. So the best way to control is to utilize something. As you were saying, the same example, supposing a strong river is flowing current, you can only channelize it. You can just direct it, supposing a pace bowler is throwing the ball at a very high speed. One is you try to defend it, but much benefit will be there. But if you just deflect it, it easily goes to the fence. So which means something which is very strong, especially the mind or the senses, very strong. Best way to control is to dovetail it, or just direct them slightly in one direction, they will go. So we should know how to direct it properly. So that scriptures are giving us the direction. Yes, the senses are very powerful. The mind is very powerful force. It has to be powerful. It is there. It is powerful for a purpose, but you utilize it properly. So how to utilize? Like Arjuna was getting angry. He was also fearful. He was also nervous. But that nervous energy, that fear, that anger, he directed it properly, and Krishna helped him. So that is the secret of success. Controlling means doesn't mean subduing something. Desires, controlling desire means not eliminating desires. Controlling the mind doesn't mean making the mind blank. Thoughts will come, but you should know how to direct them properly. That is intelligence. Okay, thank you. Any other comment or question? We'll take 5 minutes and then end up the session. Anyone from this side also, please feel free. It's an open group. By adding some points, it increases the quality of this program. Okay, maybe I will end the Zoom session. There are no questions. Both are related. Senses, if you control the senses, it will help to control the mind. If you control the mind, it can help to control the senses. But the way you control, there's a hierarchy. The senses are controlled by the mind, and mind is controlled by intelligence. Intelligence is controlled by the ego, and ego is controlled by the soul. So ultimately, the soul has to awaken. Just like so many thieves are there. But if there's a very strong policeman, all the thieves will run away. So same way, the senses are right now dominating us because the mind is weak, the intelligence is weak, the ego is distracted, and our consciousness also contaminated. But if you purify our consciousness or awareness, then gradually this will fall in line. But nevertheless, you start with the senses. Although the soul is superior to this intelligence, mind, and senses, even the objects which are inferior, much inferior, can help us to control the superior thing. Just like a huge banyan tree is there. The way to nourish that huge tree is to put water in the roots. Although the root is somewhere underneath the ground, can't even see it. But the nourishment to the tree comes from the roots. Similarly, although the intelligence is superior to the mind and mind is superior to senses, senses are superior to sense objects, this world around us, that is why devotee means he knows how to use this material world also properly. Because the material world, the senses are depending on the material world, and the mind is depending on the senses. So basically, devotion means you learn to use this world to the best possible way. So that knowledge is given in Bhagavad-Gita, that we have to start from the bottom. The bottommost is this material world. On that, but it should be guided by higher consciousness. So for that, the sound vibration, again, as we told, coming to the same point, the names of God, just like a lift is there. Lift is going from the ground floor to the top floor. But there is a lift room on top. From there, one channel is coming, and this is able to go up. So similarly, the ultimate guidance is coming from the supreme consciousness that guides the soul, but still things have to cooperate from the bottom also. So basically, we need the cooperation of both the mind and the senses. So top and bottom also. If you're trying to push something, something should push from below and something to pull from above. But what pulls you from above is the higher consciousness, superior beings. We always have to depend on a superior person who has better mind control, better sense control. And something we have to do from outside also. It's not that everything I put on depend on someone. My level, I also have to do some hard work. So if we do that, then we'll be successful. The last one, okay. Comment also.
When something which we care about goes wrong, the other person said something, or he said, or something has been felt it should have been better than you, and something we wrong and I we mistaken something. The moment is the anger you can suppress and think what to say. But sometimes in certain situations, the build-up is there, where you're not able to express the or you feel that no matter how much you want to report that, I will still keep scheduling inside. So such thoughts and such feelings, how to really take it out of the, not let it bother you long.
Yeah, so we have to learn what is subjective and what is objective. Like knowledge is there, something knowledge is subjective, something has to be objective. Objective means you remove yourself from that situation, and then try to understand it. So like that, we have to practice in life. Some things we have to take it as I am responsible. Sometimes you definitely, if you are doing a mistake, you have to accept responsibility. And sometimes you have to see yourself from a different, from the other person's perspective also. So unless you develop these two, that's why this equanimity, Krishna is talking about equanimity in this chapter particularly. So this both aspects are required. Objective means you start looking at situations from the perspective of the scriptures, or perspective of superior authorities, or even the people around you. Sometimes you have to give importance to that. You cannot say always think that I am right. Sometimes the other person may be also right. So that's why you see the most successful people, they don't tolerate criticism. They know that criticism is good for us. You see the newspaper, the politician, always everyone is condemning them everywhere. But they accept it because they are in that position. Definitely something they will do mistake. That's nothing wrong doing a mistake. But if you don't learn from the mistake, then it's more problem. So yes, you have to see whether that person is criticizing maybe good for me or maybe I should ignore it. So, but this you have to practice, learn to practice this. That throughout life this will happen. But better to practice and face it. That there's a subjective side and an objective side. So that's what Bhagavad-Gita will teach us in the other chapters if you see. Basically, if you are the soul, if you learn to think like the soul, then you will not be disturbed by the subjective reactions. Right now, because we have different bodies, we are thinking in different ways. But ultimately, what matters is the perspective of the soul. So that knowledge we can get only from Bhagavad, from God's point of view, what is right and wrong. Dharmam Sakshat Bhagavad Pranita. Ultimately, the problem is we are not able to discriminate what is good and bad. What is sometimes I may be praising you, but actually that praise is no good to you. Sometimes I may be criticizing you, that may be good to you. So how do you go to a doctor? Sometimes he will say what you are doing is wrong, or he may subject you to some treatment which is painful, but you know it is beneficial to you. So likewise, this you have to practice this subjective and objective responses. Okay, thank you. No other question. We'll end it here. We'll do a short Kirtan for 2 minutes. Okay. We'll end the Zoom session. You can always join us Monday to Friday. And, if you have any questions, you can always write to us. Thank you very much.